I've actually also got some pretty exciting updates for the channel. One wrong move, and it's a very messy bath time. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the channel and another ultra cycling related video. If you're one of those I chat to in the comments, then welcome back. And if you've never watched before, I'm Andy. I'm an ultra cyclist on the south coast of England. The videos I make are about ultra cycling, training, kit and adventures. So subscribe for more videos like this. On the cards for today, we'll call this one a redemption ride. I went out last weekend and had a really good route planned. Managed to get halfway through, and if you watched last week you'll see it didn't exactly go to plan. So today I want to go out, finish this route, see Salisbury, come back through the New Forest and have a better week than last week. And that said, I've got exactly the same conditions really. Quite a strong headwind out, and then hopefully a pretty good tailwind back. So I think I'll be on the aero bars most of the way to Salisbury. I've actually also got some pretty exciting updates for the channel. If you follow in my Instagram, you'll have seen I've received a package this week. At the moment, there are 2, possibly 3 brands that are interested in helping the channel out. As I'm sure you can imagine, the financial outlay racing across an entire continent is pretty high. Really thankful there are a few brands that are going to help me out with that, and some quite good stuff too. So let's go, get this headwind dealt with, get out to Salisbury. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me a bit better afterwards, and I'll run through a few things with you. Some of those interesting updates, and also they actually tie in really well with nutrition. And given I'm about 5 weeks away from the transcontinental race, if you don't know it, 4,000 kilometers France to Turkey, right now nutrition and diet is a pretty big focus for me. far so good. Getting pretty close to where the tyre slash happened last week now. Almost breaking new ground. Cross your fingers. The road was called Stony Batter Lane, covered in stones. So I'm going to be pretty careful going through there. Joys of rural English living. No thanks. I'll take the car alarms and the engine's revving. So, diet and nutrition. I'm climbing this 11%. So bear with me, but always either climbing or descending, so climbing is probably easier to talk to you. I've been asked a few times will I make this video, so here we are. The first thing I'll say, if you don't like all the chatter, there'll be chapters below, so you can skip it. The next thing, I'm not qualified to talk about nutrition, so this is what I do and what works for me. Feel free to use it to see what sort of things you could try, but it's not advice, so do your own research. I was thinking about it on the way here, and for me there's two categories, I think: nutrition and diet. Nutrition being fueling my rides, and that starts before, the day before, and goes into the following day to recover. The other category, diet, ongoing, rest of the week. What do I put in my body to reach my goals? And my goal right now is to get in some pretty good shape before the TCR. So it's quite a timely video to make, actually. You'll have seen recently I've been toying with different strategies for fueling on the bike. Carbs per hour was too low, so I've increased it recently to aim for 60 grams an hour of carbs on the bike, and that's kind of personal to me. So I think if you're in a really hilly area and your energy expenditure is higher than mine, maybe you need more than 60 grams an hour. But I felt kind of alright at 40, but had a flat spot at all points north, no energy whatsoever. So trying 60 grams an hour at the moment, and it's going pretty well. So that's ongoing through the ride. Set an alarm on my Garmin to remind me every 20 minutes, eat 20 grams. Outside of that, big meal the night before, lots of carbs, fats, carb loading basically, calories, energy in the system, in the tank, before the ride. And then a good breakfast in the morning, overnight oats. Oats, berries, yogurt, all that nice stuff. Really good breakfast, strong coffee, get on the road. So in terms of fueling on the bike, that's roughly it. The following day, whatever my calorie deficit was, day of the ride, I try to make up a big chunk of that the following day. That can be my recovery. It seems to work quite well. I just change up what I have. Pre-ride, carbs, fats, energy. Post-ride, try to get a bit more protein for recovery. And a bit more rest before I get back into training on Tuesday. And on the bike, that's 60 grams an hour. For a while now, I was using supermarket bars, crepes from Co-op, whatever I could really find. And I had no idea how low in carbohydrate they were. So I contacted a couple of brands to try to see if I could get some kind of support on adequate fueling for this kind of riding. 100 miles, 150 miles, when I can carry all the food with me. So right now, I'm trying a couple of different products. See if I like them, if I get on with them, and then hopefully they'll be willing to support me, us, with some really good fueling and get through these rides a little bit more successfully than eating dry supermarket bars. But I'm testing it this week. By next week I should be able to tell you how it went. I think that's the climb over. So that's how I fuel the rides during, before and after recovery. Actual diet through the week I'll get into shortly, because I've got goals to hit before I get on the start line of the Transcontinental race. So I've got to be mindful of what I eat through the week as well, but I'll get into that shortly. There we are. So far so good. Made it further than last week anyway. How much further? Let's see. I'm sure we'll be fine. It's only a few miles to Salisbury now. Maybe stop there for a coffee, and then we're going home via the New Forest. So we should have a stonking tailwind through there.
We have found a winner, no doubt. Wow!
Just leaving Salisbury now. That was quite fun. Today in England is Father's Day, so I'm imagining that's an event built on for Father's Day. Managed to arrive just in time for the rev off. I love loud cars. It's when cars punishment pass, rev the hell out of their engines. Makes me jump, it's not good. But the joke's kind of on them. I love loud cars. Currently sweeping around to head home, and that headwind is slowly turning from headwind into crosswind to tailwind. It should be pretty strong, I hope. Let's go have some fun. I love riding through this place, and right now I think this section has got to be up there with one of the best places I can ride in some of the best conditions close to where I live. It's quite high up and exposed, but with the tailwind, a little bit of sun, It's gorgeous. Two things I'm testing at the moment. I mentioned earlier on, one of them's nutrition, sort of the fuel and stuff to get through a ride. The other's a supplement. And I feel like I've got more stash to work through and try it. It's feeling pretty conclusive so far. I feel a bit too good. I'm I'm 87 miles into this ride. My heart rate's almost at threshold up this climb. It's been at threshold, the lower end of that, a lot, and it feels pretty easy to push on past that. Just generally feeling really good. This is the last training ride before my rest week. Usually by now I need a rest, and I do, but honestly during this ride I feel bloody great. I'll get through more of the stash, a bit more testing, and then chat about that later. 90 miles in now. Can you hear the wind? I'm sure you can. I'm just heading in, go see my dad. I'm sure he'd appreciate me turning up. Father's Day, stinking, but beggars can't be choosy. Said we'd talk about diet. So I'll go through what I do, and the first thing I'll say, if you have any kind of propensity to focus on diet because you want to look a certain way, then I'd say if that's your goal, your priority, it's do some more research really. It shouldn't be that high on the priorities. I think there's a real trend in road cycling to look as thin as possible, to look like Tadej Pogačar, thin as anything. I think it's nice to be lean. That should be a byproduct of the process. Body dysmorphia is a real thing. I fluctuate through the year. In the winter, I'll be around 77 kilos, maybe 78. And in the summer, I get down to about 70. Bear in mind, I'm a little over 6 foot. Moving in toward beanpole territory. I get a lot of comments in the summer. Aren't you skinny? You don't need to diet. You're so thin. And the worst one, it's alright for you, you're thin. When actually it's quite a lot of work to be leaner. And the same in the winter. I'll put 10% of my body weight on. And people will say, you put on a bit of timber? That sort of thing can be a bit damaging. And if you are conscious of that sort of thing, then just be conscious of body dysmorphia, and the reasons for wanting to change your body composition should be for the right reasons. So be careful. That said, for me, in the summer I do push myself a bit to get pretty lean, entering beanpole territory, as I said. I'll put up a picture of my legs from last summer, if I can dig it out. Reached a point when shaving my legs, one wrong move, and it's a very messy bath time. So when it comes to leanness and dieting for sport, like most things, it's personal as to what works for you. For me, when I get out of winter, I start cutting a few things out. February, March, my weight gets down to a pretty workable level by May, and then at some point, depending on what I got happening, I'll need to make a real conscious effort to shift a little bit more timber. But for me, there's a point when I have to work to get the last bit of fat off. I find my performance on the bike is helped. I have more energy. I feel a bit more peppy. If you're already lean and you try to go too lean, or too lean too fast, it will compromise your riding, for sure. For me personally, like most things, it was trial and error and learning from my mistakes to see what worked. I tried eating just very little, thinking let's get the fat off, see how it goes. Lose weight too fast and just feel terrible, tired, can't train, I get ill, not good. Instead, for me, I can monitor my calories using Whoop very accurately for the whole day, not just training, all calories burned through the full 24 hours. All I need to do is make sure I'm a couple hundred calories under that. I'm in a very slight deficit most days, not all days, then you will lose weight. That's just the way it goes. You're not putting enough calories in to sustain that fat. Obviously, on training days, recovering from training, you've got to be a little bit smart about it, but it does work. And that's what I do. You've got to find out what works for you. And then on top of that, how lean do you get? Well, that's personal. No one has the answer for you, but I found out for myself. Once I get down to a certain body fat level, I start feeling very good. If I go beyond that, very quickly feel very bad. So there is a crossover. In line with the law of diminishing returns, there comes a point it's not worth getting leaner and leaner, and then a point it will just hinder your training. So there you go. I feel like I'm squeezing a lot into this video and not going into masses of detail because, as I said, it's personal to me. If you're interested in getting leaner for riding, just be very careful about it. Do lots of research, do it in a measured way, and do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because you want a six-pack. Don't do it because you want to be lean in your lycra, because you'll just look terrible in a shirt like I do. I work in an office, I look like a sack of potatoes tied up in the middle, because there's not a lot under my shirt, sadly. And last thing to add, from an ultra cycling perspective, pushing to lose the last 500 grams of fat before a big event, thousands of kilometers or whatever, is it worth losing that extra 500 grams, risking getting ill? The kind of courses we ride, really not that important. Weight is a factor if you're not careful and you're packing far too much, but I don't think it's as much of a factor as a lot of people think it is. Back into the headwind again. Just sat at my parents' house for 2 hours and I am stiff. I've got about 10 miles to get home. Just about to hit 100 miles. Got about 10 more roughly before I get home. Gotta get some nice food. I've got a yogurt, a huge Greek yogurt in the fridge that I'm going to demolish. Back in Portsmouth and back into the headwind. Rough, but it's been a great ride, a very good training ride, and I'm feeling bloody good still. 108 miles, so I finished at about 110. I wouldn't mind getting out of the headwind, but heart rate's 170, still managing to hold threshold. It's crazy, but I hope this has been useful and not boring. Hopefully, at least I managed to get around this time without destroying any tyres. So hope you all have a good week. Sign off again for another week. I'll see you all on the next one. Take it easy.